how's it going, guys? Just sitting down by the water, lunchtime. So, another spot again, back to the original spot over here. It's a beautiful day, as you can see. I'm not sure how hot it is, maybe 75 degrees. But sitting here with the AC on. That's why the camera's vibrating. But yeah, no, I just wanted to show you guys another something. I'm gonna keep adding in throughout the videos, or in between my videos, little tips on carburetor stuff. So like I said, just good knowledge. Some of you guys might know it, some of you guys might not know it. And I figure through the videos we'll talk about the different circuits too. This time goes on a little bit at a time, then you'll understand, you know, what you're playing with. So here's what I got right here. Throttle shaft, primary. Okay, what's special about this shaft? Well, let me reword that. I know I got the blurry spot, guys. You got to deal with it. Let me reword that. If you ever look up carburetors, they call for different shafts. Okay, what's different? Of course, the way everything hooks up. Excuse me, allergies are really bad. The way everything hooks up, meaning your throttle, you kick down, the idle up, and all that, and the cam lever are all different. But what else is different? Okay, here's one thing that's different with this one. You can see where the blades screw on. There's a hole right there between the shaft and there. Goes all the way through. And if you notice, it's exactly in line. I'll put light through it. It's exactly in line when the throttle blades are wide open. Some carburetors, if you look on the bottom of the carburetor, in between where the blades are and the outside, you'll see a hole drilled through them. Okay? And basically what happens is when this thing is anywhere but nailed, that hole does nothing. But when you nail it, it actually makes an air passage. And you could take the base plate off and you'll see that the base plate is machined. And then it goes to different parts of the carburetor or whatever they're using it for. This carburetor, that hole was never drilled through the top side. So it's only drilled through the bottom side. It goes to the shaft and then it's dead end. So this carburetor, you could change the shaft on one that doesn't have the hole, in so many words. But if your carburetor requires this hole and you put one in without the hole, guess what? You're never going to have that passage there. So it's a good thing to know what you're playing with. If it doesn't have the hole drilled, then you put this one in there, there won't be any difference at all. Most of the shafts that you look at have grooves machined in them. And I think the purpose of those grooves is so air can fall by them at all times, if need be. Okay, because they really don't look like a place to hold any kind of lubricant. Most of the stuff is dry, and always dry. And even if you put it together, assembled with something on it, it's going to be dry. So the gas always runs down these shafts. You can see the wear on this side. It's kind of focusing. It's a shiner, and then this side has its like surface rust. Same there and there. A lot of times, excuse me, a lot of times you see heavy shiners when the return springs are way too tight. Now, if the return spring, like the factory one, is just twisting on the shaft itself, there is really not much of a side load. There's a little bit. But when you start hanging them off here, okay, and then you're pulling it from here, when you pull it, the center becomes a wear point. It's just going to dig into the shaft because you're fighting the spring. And if you see where the shiner is, you know where the spring is because it's opposite to that. So I just figured I'd show you guys that. What shaft is this? This is the shaft from Ruben's 4180. His particular year does not require that hole through it. So I was able to put the 4150, 4160 shaft in it. Now, if you required that hole through it, basically the right thing to do would to be seal up all those grooves and drill the hole back in it, right where it has to be. Unless that item that it's feeding is nothing to do with anything you are no longer worried about. Like I'll give you an example of what it could be. I'm not saying it is. You nail it to the floor, it puts vacuum up there, and that vacuum applies something. Because it now knows the car is nailed to the floor, just like a car like this here. When I put it to the floor, the throttle position sensor knows it's to the floor. Okay, and it'll turn the AC off. Most cars do that, you just don't realize it. And then if you back off just a hair, the compressor kicks back on for more power. So same thing here, you're putting this thing to the floor, the limited vacuum that's left in the engine will apply something. But like I said, his carburetor, when it comes up to the base plate, they never finish drilling the hole through there. All the machine work is there. So I just figured that'd be another interesting thing. You should always study everything you take off. And if you're going to do modifications and you're not that familiar with what you're doing, do one at a time, so you can go backwards. Instead of doing 7 different modifications and being like, oh crap. And if you don't know how it functions to begin with, then that's usually the end of it. And if you hand it to somebody that doesn't know what they're looking at and they overhaul it, they're just going to put the same mistake back in. I've seen that time and time again. Some of these guys that overhaul these carburetors don't have a clue what they're doing. They're just changing gaskets and cleaning ports. So if something's modified, something's missing, that's usually the key. If something's missing, they skip right through it, then they can't get the carburetor to work, they throw it to the side, buy another one. And meanwhile, it could be a 30-cent needle or check ball. So, like I said, a lot of times you buy the kits, it comes with those little balls. You look at them, mine don't have it. You just might not have it because the last guy might have lost it. And the carburetor's been working like crap for the last 3 years. So, okay guys, that's it. I'm going to enjoy the weather. It is beautiful. It is beautiful.